What is going on, guys? I'm about to meet a seller for a purchase and sales agreement, and I want to talk to you about this a little bit because this is one of the most important documents in a transaction. And the funny thing is, nobody talks about it. Everybody wants to talk about inspections, everybody wants to talk about appraisers, but actually, this is one of the most important pieces of documents you're going to sign during a transaction. So, I've had this question asked before, do I really need a closing attorney to finalize the transaction? I mean, what are they really doing? So let me tell you what a closing attorney really does. A closing attorney prepares the purchase and sales agreement and makes sure that you deliver a clean title to the next buyer. At the same time, he also handles money. So the proceeds from the buyer that they go to the seller, they handle that part as well. They handle the money in a transaction. Another thing a closing attorney does, which is super crucial, just like I mentioned, is you make sure that there is no issues with the title so you can deliver a clean title to the next person. So if you don't have a closing attorney involved, and it's somebody that's vetted, right? That's our job, to vet our closing attorneys, to vet the inspectors, and to vet the bank. So when we receive an offer, we always call the bank to make sure that the pre-approval is legit, is direct, just like you've seen in another video I've done. And then that the money will be there. This is not just a pre-qualification, it is a direct pre-approval, preferably. And then the money is there, and the buyer, if you represent the seller, let's say, is in a very good shape to close on the loan and make due on his promise to buy the property. But going back to the purchase and sales agreement, you see, this is a legally binding document. An offer also is a legal binding document, but this is where the buyer comes in with a second bigger chunk of money. So let's say you have a 5% deposit, you put $1,000 when you put an offer, and now you have to come up with $30,000, $40,000. So this here has to exactly describe how things are going to go down. What is the seller responsible for? What is the buyer responsible for? And most importantly, to have clear terms and expectations of each and every part in the transaction. So, all in all, a great way to make sure that you're on top of the transaction, other than talking to an inspector, other than talking to an appraiser, it is to have a very well vetted closing attorney to make sure that you're gonna see this at the end, and then you're gonna come to the closing table receiving a check, and not problems with titles, problems with title companies that don't let you close. Insurance, sometimes that's really important. You gotta make sure you buy, if you're a buyer, title insurance, because you never know what can happen or what has happened in the past, and this covers you. So all in all, guys, a purchase and sales agreement has to be prepared by a vetted lawyer, a closing real estate attorney that's going to make sure that every single thing is crossed and looking out for your own interest. Lastly, if the other side has a closing attorney and you don't, and you want to represent yourself, there is this kind of people out there. You're playing in a disadvantage. Would you show up in a court of law without a closing attorney? Absolutely not. So get the closing insurance if you're a buyer. And if you're a buyer or a seller, make sure you receive well recommendations from your real estate agent that has vetted these closing attorneys. He knows they can close, he knows they're serious, and he knows that they reply, because at the end, sometimes, believe it or not, we also get these kind of attorneys that they reply at 7 o'clock at night and the purchase and sale is due the next morning. So make sure, stay close to your real estate agent and receive the advice they have to give you, because this is a legally binding document and you don't want to be shooting in the dark randomly, last minute, because the attorney that you chose is a sleazebag and doesn't answer their emails. I love you guys. That's one of the most important documents in a transaction, and it's a great one because this means that we're getting one step closer to the closing table. Catch you guys soon.